Chapter 117. On Sunday afternoon, Yan Shaoling was still lying in bed, but she had changed her posture. She chose to sit back and put her laptop on her lap. Brahman, are you sure? She glanced at the laptop, took out her phone and quickly sent a message to Brahman. Brahman said with an emoji of the biggest joke in the world, anyway, that lush self-generating light just posted that Qidao video website has a live broadcast and bought the copyright from Songqing TV station. She even got the trailer before, so this kind of small thing shouldn't be wrong, right? It's so annoying. The website is so laggy and slow. It hasn't buffered yet. After hearing Brahman's words, Yan Shaoling, who had just woken up, continued to look for the live broadcast on Qidao video website. After a few minutes, she finally found the words Hongluo Martial Arts School vs Songqing University Martial Arts Club in the corner of the preliminaries subpage. There were also 2 entries for TV station commentator and website commentator. Yan Shaoling's hand slipped and chose website commentator. After a long buffering time, she finally saw the tatami-covered ground of the martial arts school. She saw the members of Songqing University Martial Arts Club walking out in a line and kneeling separately. She saw the leader, Lu Qing. The broadcasting rights of the first stage of the preliminaries were sold by the organizing committee to the TV station of each division, and the TV station took back part of the funds from the video website. The funds that flowed to the organizing committee would eventually be used to pay for the fighters' insurance, the running cost of the competition, and the broadcasting share of the quarterfinals. Because there was no registration limit, it was impossible to get a share of the profits once the competition started. That way, most of the fighters would scam the funds. Only after 7 or 8 competitions and reaching the top 8 of the division would be qualified to profit from the preliminaries. Hey, it's true. Yan Shaoling sent a message to Brahman happily. Brahman replied quickly, I saw it too. My idol is becoming more and more popular. I'm going to post the link to the Longhu Club forum and show them. The 2 girls were busy for a while. They watched the live broadcast again nervously and excitedly, waiting for the competition to start. 2 minutes before 3 o'clock, Xiao Chang, Qiu Zhigao, and Zhang Jingye finally beat the weekend traffic jam and arrived at Hongluo Martial Arts School in time. They were followed by 4 girls who looked quite studious but were all dressed quite fashionably. Looking around, Xiao Chang saw Kai Zongming and pointed at him happily. Let's go there. The spectator seats left for the visiting team were sparse and spacious. Kai Zongming greeted them warmly and helped to arrange the seats for the girls. He secretly complained to Zhao Chang and Qiu Zhigao, the aesthetic standards of art students are indeed different from us normal people. At this age, shouldn't they wear clothes that accentuate their youthfulness and their original student aura? Wasn't this dressing a little too mature? If you really want to wear it, do you think you won't have the chance in a few years? Zhao Chang stole a few glances and smiled reservedly. I think it's pretty good. His black-rimmed glasses shone brightly in the sunlight outside the window. Kai Zongming chuckled and didn't say much, because the competition was about to begin. After everyone was seated, the girl sitting next to Zhang Jingye tugged at his sleeve and said with a smile, Who is the awesome roommate you were talking about? This girl had a cute and pleasing round face. She was wearing a light pink coat that was relatively less mature. She was Zhang Jingye's prospective girlfriend, Wu Qian from the Academy of Arts. Hearing her question, the other 3 girls also looked at Zhang Jingye curiously, waiting for his answer. This was the first time in their lives that they had a friend who could be broadcast live on TV, a friend of a friend of a friend. Zhang Jingye pointed at Lu Qing who was kneeling in the first row of the visiting team's tatami. That, do you see? The one on the far left, the one with the spirit. Wu Qian stretched her neck and giggled. Yes, I see. He's quite classy. The other 3 girls were about to open their mouths when they saw the referee in black walking to the center of the bluestone ground. He announced loudly, the first match between Hongluo Martial Arts School and Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Fong Tong vs. Lu Qing. As soon as the referee announced the match, the surrounding audience burst into applause and cheers. Although there weren't many people in the audience, they were all friends and relatives, so they tried their best. Hongluo will win and Fong Tong will win echoed in his ears. Lu Qing slowly stood up and turned his head to look at Yan Zhike without hiding anything. Yan Zhike boldly returned his gaze. Her eyes were as clear as water, like a hidden star. Her face was flushed because of excitement, nervousness, and worry. She clenched her fist and waved it. Her pink lips moved up and down as if she was mouthing cheer. With a smile on his face, Lu Qing calmly bent down and put on his shoes. Under the unfriendly gazes of the onlookers, he walked along the aisle towards the arena at a leisurely pace. The strength in his heart gradually settled and accumulated, waiting to erupt when the battle officially began. The audience on the tatami mats was estimated to be less than 100 people. Most of them were the peripheral students of Hongluo Martial Arts School and their friends and relatives. A small number of them were the family members and friends of the participating disciples. It was definitely not comparable to the sea of people in Songqing University Martial Arts Club Stadium. But because it was close to the arena, the cheers and provocations were more impactful, as if someone was roaring next to his ear. Lu Qing was also a martial artist who had experienced a lot, so he wasn't afraid at all. He passed through the curses, provocations, and lines of defense formed by gazes and stepped into the arena made of bluestone ground. During this process, he could even think of some trivial things. I'm afraid this pair of shoes won't last long. After a few more fierce kicks, they will be almost useless. The road of martial arts is really expensive. On the arena, Fong Tong was already standing on the left side of the referee. His hair stood up and his momentum was fierce, as if he would explode at any moment. He was tall, over 185 meters tall, and the simple scarlet-red martial arts suit made him look like a slim-fit suit. 3 minutes. The referee looked at his watch and took a step back. Fong Tong stared at Lu Qing and smiled contemptuously. You're very proud, aren't you? It only took you half a year to grow from a novice with no rank to a fighter of professional ninth pin. You do have the right to be proud. But I like to fight with so-called geniuses like you the most. I like to see you flustered under my attacks. I like to see your futile struggle. I like to see your eyes doubting life after a crushing defeat. I like to see your cowering face in front of me. Do you know, there was once an 18-year-old ninth pin genius fighter who was beaten by me until he cried. He cried. Hey, if you want to cry later, just cry. Don't hold it back. Go back and find your mom to comfort you. Lu Qing listened quietly. A line of introduction on the information flashed in his mind. Fong Tong, good at trash talking, good at provocation. He closed his eyes and confirmed his fighting style one last time. Once he stepped into the arena, he would go all out and fight like a life and death battle. He would not consider holding back any trump cards. But he did not have enough life and death experience. He could only use this as a reference. With this thought, Lu Qing recalled the details of his fight with the dark sect ninth pin. A whip kick to the temple, squeezing out 2 bloody eyeballs. A rocket-like cannon, bursting his genitals, blood, and urine all over the ground. A secret technique of spirit and aura, directly attacking the mind, shaking the soul. Compared to the fear caused by the dark sect ninth pin, Fong Tong's trash talk was like a child scolding. Gradually, Lu Qing ignored Fong Tong's trash talk. He only felt that there seemed to be a croaking sound coming from a distant place. It could not affect his memory at all. Using the secret technique of spirit and aura to create rigidity. Fear caused by the poisonous needle force. Forced to open his stance. Prepared, biting the tip of the tongue. Mercurial balance, dodging in time. Deafening sound skill, killing move again. 1-inch punch, supernatural ability of flame, taking advantage of opportunity, scenes flashed in his mind. Finally, it stopped at the scene of the dark sect 9th pin bleeding from the 7 orifices. The light in his eyes faded quickly, leaving behind a trace of unwillingness. The scene froze. Lu Qing opened his eyes and looked at Fong Tong with eyes as cold as ice. What's the use of training for a kid like you who hasn't been weaned yet? Really? Fong Tong was talking enthusiastically when he was suddenly stunned by such a weak look. He did not know why, but there was a slight chill in the bottom of his heart. For a moment, he was speechless. Begin. At this moment, the referee waved his right hand. Fong Tong took a deep breath. His calf and thigh muscles swelled, making the corners of his martial arts pants stand out. The clothes on his upper body twitched, revealing his muscles one after another. Invading like fire, erupting like fire. Bam! He quickly approached and took a step-forward punch. He poured all his strength into his right arm. The wind stirred, his bulging muscles pulled the skin and punched at Lu Qing fiercely. If an ordinary person was hit by such a punch, even if they did not die, they would be seriously injured. Lu Qing lowered his waist and sat down. Lightning flashed in his mind and the snow mountain collapsed. The rolling force surged to the soles of his feet, mighty and unstoppable. He put his right foot horizontally and exerted force on the ground in a half-twisting posture. Suddenly, he felt a rebound attack. A slightly spiral force flowed from his foot to his leg, from his leg to his waist, and from his waist to his spine. With this as the axis, all the force in the flow was directed to his right arm. His right arm seemed to swell and his skin seemed to be pulled open. Lu Qing clenched his fist and hammered down to block Fong Tong's attacking hand. When the two were about to touch, his joints changed and his muscles and bones stretched, sending out a short but vigorous 1-inch punch. Bam! A layer of flame rose and covered Lu Cheng's hand. Then it collided with Fong Tong's fist. The supernatural ability of fire versus burning force. Bang! With a muffled sound, Lu Qing felt like his right hand was burning. But he had expected it. He took advantage of the momentum and swung his right arm back, bringing a reverse momentum. Fong Tong's expression changed slightly. He instinctively swung his right arm to get rid of the burning sensation. His chest and abdomen were immediately opened. At the tatami of the home team, Wang Hui, Jiang Guixing, and Pan Qingyun changed their expressions immediately. Lu Qing was not going to show mercy. He twisted his waist and tightened his thighs. With the help of the stomping force of his right foot and the backward momentum of his right arm, his left leg suddenly tightened like a soft whip. He ferociously and violently kicked between Fong Tong's legs. But he was still in a charging posture. Fong Tong's eyes showed panic. In his mind, he visualized the scene of a burning body. His buttocks were involuntarily clenched and his muscles exerted force on his tailbone. Then he bounced his back and hooked his legs to pounce to the side. Burning body, going up the roof. With just a pounce, Fong Tong pulled a few meters away from Lu Qing and avoided the deadly whip kick. But Lu Qing was not in a hurry. After the whip kick missed, he immediately lowered his leg and adjusted his muscles. He stepped heavily on the bluestone ground and directed the mega avalanche and lightning and fire stance in his mind to the soles of his feet. Bam! As if the ground was hit, Lu Qing bounced up and pounced on Fong Tong's side. His speed was not slow at all. The bluestone where he originally stood had a shallow mark on it. One in front and one behind, they were like two eagles chasing each other. Fong Tong regained his footing and used the force to bounce back. Lu Qing had already arrived. He turned his body sideways, lowered his shoulders, bulged his muscles, and rammed forward with all his strength. It was as if an avalanche was about to happen. Fong Tong had no strength to dodge and could only hurriedly raise his arms in front of his body to block. Bam! Fong Tong's arms were in pain and pressed to his chest. Fong Tong flew out of the ring and fell in front of the tatami mats, almost knocking over several spectators. Lu Qing threw Fong Tong into the air. The referee nodded slightly and appreciated Lu Cheng's mercy at the end. Otherwise, he would have to stop it to avoid causing casualties. He raised his right hand and shouted, "Lu Qing wins." Lu Qing won in a few breaths. The whole martial arts club and the home team were silent. Yan Shaoling was looking at the screen with annoyance because the signal was interrupted. After more than 10 seconds, the signal was restored. She saw the collision between the two and heard the commentator's voice, "Welcome to the next round. The match has just started and there is no delay. As I introduced during the conversation, Fong Tong in the red martial arts suit is one of the top young masters in Songqing. He has reached professional 9th pin more than 3 years ago. He lost. I just started the commentary. P.S. Please recommend me." Chapter 118. Yan Shaoling was as confused as the commentator. Not long after the signal was restored, she saw Fong Tong running away in a hurry and Lu Qing running after him. Before she could figure out what had happened, she had to face the final result. The result was certainly gratifying, but the confusing and short process made her somewhat unable to believe that it was real. She deeply suspected that after the signal was cut off, someone had faked the live broadcast and hired 2 actors who looked somewhat similar to each other to fake the fight, just like an old gambling movie she had watched before. The commentator was silent for a moment and finally recovered. "Hello everyone, I'm Wang Pang. Welcome to the first live broadcast of this year's preliminaries of Songqing Division. The first match just ended. Fong Tong from Hongluo Martial Arts School vs Lu Qing from Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Both sides fought fiercely, and the winner was decided within a few moves. This made me very confused, and I believe that everyone is the same. Now, let's review the fight just now and figure out what happened." The scene changed and the replay started. Yan Shaoling opened her mouth slightly and stared at the screen like a child. In less than 10 seconds, she suddenly exclaimed, "Fire!" While the exclamation was still echoing, she, who had been influenced by the internet for a long time, had already understood. She let out a burst of forthright laughter and said to herself in surprise and delight, "Lu Qing has supernatural power. He has never used it before. He hit it so well. Ha 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 ha, I like it." She picked up her phone and sent a voice message to Brahman. "Brahman, did you see it? Lu Qing is so handsome, so handsome." Brahman also replied with an excited voice message, "I saw it, I saw it. So handsome. I never thought he had supernatural power. He is indeed a hidden and mysterious master. Get out of the way, I'm going to be infatuated." After a burst of crisp laughter, she said dreamily, "Lu Qing has the power of flame, and his martial arts are so good. He has so much potential. In the future, he might really become a famous martial artist. When that time comes, when I ask for his autograph, I can proudly say that I was his earliest fangirl. I'll watch you become stronger little by little." Yan Shaoling covered her chest and said, "My heart is bleeding. You stole the title of the first fan." Brahman laughed and said, "How is that stealing? Obviously it is. Also, the way you addressed me just now was too rude. Call me father." The 2 girls laughed and joked for a while. Brahman was excited. While waiting for the second battle, she opened the forum of Longhu Club to see what her friends had to say. From the moment the results came out, no one replied for a full minute. Immediately after that, a large number of posts appeared in the next 10 to 20 seconds. Unparalleled Dragon King, said with a Nike mouth emoji. I finally understand why he burst out in the end when he was fighting Yi Yaoding. He has awakened the power of Blaze. Road to the arena, added. I didn't lose unjustly. Not to mention the flame arcana at the beginning, just looking at how he grasped the opportunity and how calm he was, and looking at the last 2 or 3 exchanges, I have a feeling that if I were to fight with him again, without a referee, I would die. Invincible punch. Jin Tao also replied with a complicated tone. Every time I watch his match, I feel that the gap between us is widening. Before, I still had the motivation to catch up, but now, I can only be myself. Beautiful world, comforted Jin Tao. Don't be sad, little fist. As long as you can reach professional 9th pin this year and get better martial arts from Haiyuan Martial Arts Academy, you will still be an outstanding young fighter. Don't compare yourself with this kind of cheating guy. Some people are really blessed by God. Although she still didn't like Lu Qing, she had to admit that Lu Cheng's speed of improvement was so amazing that she didn't even have the courage to slander him. Outspoken, said, didn't he win this match with his supernatural ability? Why are you boasting so much? Let's see how he can win when Hongluo Martial Arts School is prepared. Fancy Leg Shaking King, said smilingly, a young martial artist with great potential who also has the power of fire. He's a perfect match for our Longhu Club, okay? The unique skills of the fire sect of Taoism and the power of Blaze are perfect. Who knows, maybe Lu Qing will join our club in the future. Brahman looked at the replies that were either sincerely convinced or still jealous. She was in a very good mood and didn't respond to them. She only liked the comment about the king of fancy leg shaking and sent a plus 10,086, imagining the scene of her new idol joining her favorite martial arts force. How wonderful that would be! In Hongluo Martial Arts School, more than 100 spectators were unusually depressed and couldn't speak for a while. It was like someone suddenly slapped them from behind while they were having a good time peeing, so they had to force it back. To be honest, they were mentally prepared for the possibility of Fong Tong losing the match. Since Fong Tong was chosen by Songqing TV station for the live broadcast, at least the gap between the strength of the two sides would not be too big. Moreover, Lu Cheng's meteoric rise had long been known through information and word of mouth. They felt that it was not particularly strange for such a genius fighter who had defeated a professional 9th pin master to win against Fong Tong. At most, they would feel depressed for a while. But what they didn't expect was that Lu Qing would win so quickly and violently. Geezer Sher's mouth twitched and he said, Coach Yen. Don't you know that this old man can read lips? You little bastard, you value your girl over your teacher. If I hadn't been like this in the past, I would have thrown you out now. While he was cursing in his heart, Li Mao and Sun Jian beside him looked at each other with a complicated smile. He even has the supernatural ability of flame. This kind of junior brother is really despairing. The two opened their mouths at the same time, but they said different things, which made Chen Zhanghua, who was sitting behind them, smile bitterly and say to himself, junior brothers nowadays are more terrible than the previous one. The new generation overtakes the old, and the old should die on the beach. Lin Ke was still expressionless, but his eyes flashed slightly. Gui Qing, who was on his right, said, this Cheng is really good at hiding. When did he get the supernatural ability? After exclaiming a few words, Gui Qing turned to Yan Jika beside her and joked, Ku, are you moved? Cheng was so cool and mighty just now. Before she could finish her words, she saw Yan Jika blushing and looking at the ring with her bright and gentle eyes. Startled, she lowered her voice and said in Mandarin, don't tell me you've really fallen for him. I was just kidding. Boys like Qing can't accept it easily. He's too good at hiding and lying. He suddenly became so powerful, and suddenly he has the supernatural ability of flame. I know this. Yenjike interrupted her in a low voice. Know what? That he's a liar. Or that he has the supernatural ability of flame. Guiqing asked in astonishment. Yanjika pursed her lips and smiled. He doesn't hide anything from me. Guiqing was stunned and looked Yanjika up and down. She suddenly realized, you're not dating, are you? Yanjika lowered her head and blushed from her cheeks to her ears. Yes. Behind the spectator seats of the away team, Shu Rui was shocked and excited. She couldn't wait to jump on the stage and give Lu Qing another interview. No wonder he's the fighter I chose. He's really a hot topic. Sooner or later I'll rely on him to make big news. Although Kai Zongming knew Lu Qing had the supernatural ability of flame, he didn't expect him to win Fang Tong so quickly and so easily. He was a little stunned and murmured, "Spring is coming, and everything is coming back to life. It's mating season for animals on the prairie." Lu Qing is especially aggressive in his mating season. "Don't get close to him," Wu Qian and the other girls chuckled and looked at Lu Qing with curiosity and admiration. "So handsome. He's really a master. He, do you like him? How about asking Wu Qian to get you a contact number?" While whispering, Wu Qian pulled Zhang Jingye with a smile. "Does your classmate have a girlfriend?" Zhang Jingye thought for a while and said, "Probably not, but he has a target." Although the interval between each match was deliberately longer during the live broadcast to give the TV station or video website a chance to comment, introduce, and interact, the interval would not be too long, so that the fighters who won the previous match could have more rest than they should have. For Lu Qing, it didn't matter. Wang Hui nodded and said to Jiang Guoxing, "Go, take him down." Jiang Guoxing narrowed his eyes and walked steadily to the ring. Chapter 119. Jiang Guoxing's physique was robust, and his back was straight as he slowly walked over. Not only did he show his steadiness, but he also displayed the manly spirit of a martial artist. He controlled his speed, and every step he took was rhythmic. It was like he was beating a drum again and again, exploding with each step, pushing his aura to its peak. Fire-like invasion, momentum first. In the face of Jiang Guoxing's constant pressure, the Songqing University Martial Arts Club was at ease. They were not worried or nervous at all. For them, Lu Cheng's quick victory over Jiang Guoxing had already fulfilled his responsibility as the vanguard. Next, they just needed to exhaust Jiang Guoxing's strength a few more times to make him lose in the following matches. Then, they would be able to clinch victory. As for whether Lu Qing could exhaust Jiang Guoxing a few more outbursts, it was needless to ask. From the strength he showed just now, from the fact that he didn't exhaust much, and from the fact that he had reached the level of professional ninth pin in half a year, they could get a definite answer. Among them, only Yanjika, who was used to seeing Lu Qing create miracles again and again, was vaguely expecting something. Only Wu Qian, Zhao Chang and other students who didn't know much about Lu Cheng's strength were still cheering and longing for a second victory. With Jiang Guoxing's appearance, the peripheral students and non-core disciples of Hongluo Martial Arts School unconsciously dispersed their depression and calmed down. They were quite confident that senior brother Jiang could defeat his opponent. What was there to be afraid of after only one loss? Over the past few years, as Wang Hui grew older, the time for him to personally teach his disciples and students had become less and less. Most of the time, it was Jiang Guoxing who acted as his teacher to teach his disciples, guide their practice, and demonstrate their fighting styles. He had become the de facto leader of the Hongluo Martial Arts School, and held a very high position in everyone's hearts. The only thing they needed to worry and pray was how many outbursts he could use to defeat Lu Qing. If they fought until 7 or 8 outbursts, it would be equal to a lose-lose situation. Then how could they fight against the opponent's main fighter, Lin Ke? Even if there were only 5 or 6 outbursts, the consumption would be great and the follow-up would be very unsettling. I hope senior brother Jiang can defeat Lu Qing within 5 outbursts and show the power of our martial arts school and let the audience know Hongluo again. Lu Qing smiled and turned the warmth and sweetness with Yan Zhiqi into his desire to win. He felt that he was full of thirst for the word win. Martial artists should challenge their limits. Even in the face of a strong enemy, they couldn't easily admit defeat. Igniting the fire, in exchange for an explosive response. He didn't dodge. Instead, he used this opportunity to push the strength he had just accumulated. His muscles bulged, and he seemed to have expanded a little. He bounced his back and directed all the flames to his right hand. Then, he blocked Lu Cheng's attack with a hammer strike. One hammer for 2 punches. Bam! The two collided for the first time. The dull and blood-boiling sound echoed in the surroundings. Lu Cheng used his hearing skill to withdraw his fists. He quickly adjusted his muscles and changed his center of gravity. He tightened his thighs and used the force to attack again. Bam! Lu Cheng's leg whip was more ferocious than the previous 2 punches. He used the shortest way and the fastest speed to disrupt Jiang Guoxing's explosive rhythm. 24 blizzard strikes, endless wind and endless blizzard. Jiang Guoxing was going to adjust his body and combine the feedback and counterpressure from earlier with the corresponding visualization to push for the second explosion. However, the image of the spreading flames appeared in his mind, and before his muscles could expand, Lu Cheng's whip kick was already coming at him. He had no choice but to hastily transfer half of the strength of the explosion to his right leg. He tightened his toes and kicked at his opponent. Bam! When the two collided, Lu Cheng took the opportunity to withdraw his leg. He used the force to lean back slightly like a slingshot and was about to launch a heart-drilling blast punch. At this moment, he saw Jiang Guoxing take a deep breath. Instead of attacking, he withdrew his right hand to his chest. His spirit, momentum, and blood seemed to have disappeared. No, it was restrained. An electric light flashed in Lu Cheng's mind. The video of Hongluo Martial Arts School and Yan Zhika's words appeared in his mind. This was another killing move of Hongluo Martial Arts School. It was extremely fierce and terrifying after compressing the whole body's strength to a certain extent. Without the feeling of withdraw in Dan stage, it was difficult to exert its power. However, once it was used, it was definitely not something a normal professional ninth pin fighter could resist. When the pressure reached the extreme, the rebound would also reach the extreme. Star burst, prairie fire. Lu Cheng made a decision in an instant. He took a deep breath, adjusted his muscles, changed his center of gravity, and put his arms in a horizontal stance. When Lu Cheng finished his stance, Jiang Guoxing suddenly expanded. He seemed to have grown taller and his momentum became extremely fierce. His temples were obviously bulging. He pushed his feet inwards and pulled out his right hand, which was in front of his chest. It was as fast as thunder, tearing the air. Bam! When the pull hit Lu Cheng's arms, he felt an unstoppable majestic force. He felt a burning pain and a piercing pain at the places of contact. It seemed that his stance was about to be broken. Fortunately, he was prepared. He didn't expect to take it head-on. He tightened his waist and back, twisted his body, and exerted force on his feet. With the help of this majestic force, he actually broke his stance and jumped back. He flew backward like a kite with a broken string. Normally, when beaten like this, he would be in a precarious situation. However, Lu Cheng took the initiative and kept his center of gravity. There was a move in Tai Chi, which was to take a step back after blocking the opponent's attack to neutralize the force. Lu Cheng was using the extreme application of Tai Chi without strong control of the body and absolute confidence in the adjustment of the center of gravity. It would be suicidal. While flying backward, Lu Cheng turned around with his back facing Jiang Guoxing. Under the pressure of the majestic force, he continued to move forward. He didn't mess up his footwork, like an agile eagle. Jiang Guoxing didn't show any mercy. He exerted force on his feet and quickly approached, trying to copy the scene of Lu Cheng winning the last blow at the same time. At this moment, Lu Qing, who had spent most of the force, borrowed the remaining force and used the adjustment of his muscles to direct it to his legs. Dong! His heavy footsteps seemed to shake the ground slightly. Taking advantage of the momentum, he twisted his waist and took a step forward. His muscles bulged, and his skin tightened. With both his feet, he struck out with a mountain blast punch. Once again, he fiercely counterattacked. Jiang Guoxing stopped as soon as he said so, like a heavy truck that had braked suddenly. However, he immediately rushed up again, pouring the accumulated strength into his legs. He stomped his feet, and with the help of the violent rebound, he pulled his right shoulder and lashed out with his whip. Even if it was a stone millstone in front of him, he would still crack it. Bam! The blast punch blocked the whip and made a dull sound. Both of them were stagnant at the same time. This caused the surrounding cheers to temporarily disappear. The audience watching the live broadcast and the live broadcast were immediately stunned, and their heartstrings tightened. Paw! 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 The martial arts shoes on their feet cracked one after another. The footprints and cracks on the floor were exposed. After a moment of absolute silence, the audience burst into loud applause. No matter which side the supporters were from, they were all excited by the collision of pure physical strength. Shu Rui clenched her fists and her eyes flashed. She secretly breathed a sigh of relief. With such a battle, there would be no problem with the live broadcast. She, who made the suggestion, wouldn't be the scapegoat. Chapter 120. Pan Qingyun had straightened his back and stared at the ring. His expression was unprecedentedly serious, and his eyes were more focused than ever. It seemed that Lu Qing was probably more powerful than he had expected. It had been more than 20 days since the end of the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. Lu Qing had reached the level of professional 9th pin in only 4 months. He had enough time to make another breakthrough. Since he could reach the level of professional 9th pin from amateur 1st pin in 3 months, why couldn't such a genius do more in 1 month? Moreover, he seemed to have experienced a lot of life and death battles. His momentum was not inferior to that of his fellow apprentices who made a living in this aspect. At this moment, Lu Qing still had shortcomings in strength and speed, but the gap between him and the professional 9th pin had been greatly shortened. Plus, his control of his body, understanding of the technique of exerting force, and the proportion of power transferred between his punches and kicks and the degree of explosion were higher. These were enough to fill up the small gap. In other words, Lu Qing had reached the standard of a professional 9th pin in all aspects except for his physical fitness. He had even surpassed this level in the fields of coordination, listening skill and meditation. All in all, although he was not invincible among the professional 9th pin fighters, he was strong enough to fight with any of the professional 9th pin fighters. And this was excluding the fact that his power of blaze was not strong enough at present. Unconsciously, Pan Qingyun regarded Lu Qing as a young fighter who was more talented than himself. And he took it for granted. His attitude changed 180 degrees from the contempt at the beginning to a little bit too much. He has no rank yet. It is very likely that he will participate in the ranking event of professional 9th pin at the end of April. At that time, if there are only 1 or 2 applicants, it will be a narrow road. No matter how calm Pan Qingyun was, he still felt a headache. He was only officially recognized as an amateur 1st pin, and also had to participate in the ranking event at the end of April. Yanjika saw that Lu Cheng's shoes were cracked, but his figure was still standing in the ring as if he was invincible. She felt funny and distressed at the same time. She also felt that this figure seemed to be able to withstand all the wind and rain and bear all the responsibilities. I haven't given him a gift yet. She suddenly thought of this, feeling shy and sweet at the same time. In the arena, Lu Qing, whose martial arts shoes were finally broken, felt unbearable soreness in his arms, as if he had been hit thousands of times. If he hadn't jumped back and neutralized his force when Jiang Guoxing used his killer move, Starburst, his stance would have been broken and he would have lost on the spot. At the critical moment, as he stumbled away, he snapped his fingers with his right hand that was next to his opponent's temple. Paw! A flame came out and burned a few strands of Jiang Guoxing's hair. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Qing took 3 steps back and quickly adjusted his body to regain his center of gravity. Jiang Guoxing felt a burning pain in his head. He was afraid that his hair would burn his head, so he hurriedly swatted it back and didn't chase after him immediately. Seeing this, Lu Qing had an idea. He took a deep breath and rushed forward crazily to Jiang Guoxing, who had just caught up with him. In a flash, he closed the distance between them. He stepped forward with his right foot, shook his shoulder, and threw a blast punch at Jiang Guoxing's lower abdomen. Jiang Guoxing didn't expect his opponent to be so tough. He had to use the 6th explosion in advance. His 2 hands quickly reached down and accurately pressed Lu Cheng's blast punch like an osprey landing. Seeing this, Wang Hui, the master of Hongluo martial arts school, couldn't help but sigh. He thought that it was a good thing that his disciple had become more prudent as he grew older and had a chance to break through to the Dan stage. But now it seemed that there were pros and cons. If he didn't force him into a corner, he wouldn't dare to take risks and risk his life. If it were Fang Tong, he wouldn't have taken a breather. He wouldn't have cared whether his hair was lit or not. When you create an opportunity, you have to seize it regardless of your own safety. This is the true essence of fire-like invasion. Compared to Lu Qing, the difference between Jiang Guoxing and Lu Qing was not only that Jiang Guoxing did not have the experience of a life-and-death battle, which could be made up for by his rich experience in arena battles, but also that he was no longer as hot-blooded and courageous as he was when he was young. Originally, a person without hot-blooded and courageous courage would have their own routines and advantages, but the fighting style of Hongluo martial arts school was called a fire-like invasion, and the contradiction between the two was his biggest problem. Today, it would depend on whether or not his strength could solve this problem. Bang! Lu Cheng's blast punch was just stopped by Jiang Guoxing. He shook his right arm and flicked his wrist, slipping out from between Jiang Guoxing's hands. He drew a small arc and grabbed the enemy's wrist. Big and small hand wrap. Jiang Guoxing wasn't someone to be trifled with. He gathered his strength and swatted with his palm, as if he was swatting a mosquito. At this moment, Lu Qing, who had been forcefully raising his qi, finally reached a certain limit. He urgently needed to exhale the turbid qi in his lungs. His right hand cleverly dodged the slap. Just as he was about to exhale the foul air, an idea suddenly flashed through his mind. He remembered a live broadcast he had watched before. Since he was in the limelight, he had to leave some leftovers for his brother-in-law, right? Therefore, when Pan Qingyun came to him, he turned around and left the arena with his bare feet. He didn't even look at his opponent. He left. Pan Qingyun was stunned on his way out. Just like that. I'm not of amateur first pin. I'm of professional 9th pin. P.S. Based on your request, I'm updating in advance. Please recommend me in addition. I have some content from Midnight Newspaper on my Signal Wuze 1985. You are welcome to read it. Chapter 121. The sun on Sunday shone through the windows of Hongluo Martial Arts School, leaving the room full of brilliance. Lu Qing walked barefoot in the brilliance as if he was walking on a golden road. He was in a good mood, overflowing with happiness and relieving all the pressure. He looked at Yan Zhika walking back leisurely in front of the silent disciples and students of the martial arts club. This is the taste of victory. When he passed by Kai Zhongming and the others, he nodded and greeted them contentedly, not at all embarrassed by the reality of being barefoot. What a master! A martial artist who hasn't reached physical invulnerability can be so powerful. He broke his shoes in one move. Didn't you see the cracks and footprints on the stone floor? If he punched the boys in our school, they would be smashed into meat pies. So manly. A few girls from the School of Arts whispered to each other, full of admiration. They had only seen the fights of physical and vulnerability experts and didn't have a clear understanding of dance stage and body refining. Today was the first time they knew that a human could be so fierce with only physical strength. For the first time, they looked at the martial arts club in a new light. Boys who practice martial arts are so energetic and elegant. They saw Lin Kei stand up and walk towards Lu Qing. They looked around and came to the same conclusion. Hearing their undisguised discussion, Kai Songming had an impulse to cry. If he hadn't been lazy last year and joined the special training of the martial arts club, he wouldn't have been able to defeat Qing. He's a freak. Zhang Jingye was a little jealous. Wu Qian sensed it and whispered in his ear, "Just take it that we're talking about TV stars, idols, singers, and famous martial artists. We're just gossiping. Not many people take it seriously." "You're right." Zhang Jingye was relieved. But in this way, there would be a gap between Qing and them. Qiu Zhigao sighed with emotion, "I'm so jealous of Qing. I often dream of the scene just now, as a man who liked to show off his muscles even in his dormitory, and as a new student who had an amateur level when he entered the school. It would be a lie if he said that he had never dreamed of martial arts when he was young." However, as he grew older and lost his talent, he gradually recognized reality and rationally put his time and energy into studying. He stared at the arena in a daze. His hot blood boiled, and his melancholy lasted for a long time. In the end, it turned into a sigh and disappeared into silence. "I hope Qing can go further on the path of martial arts and let me know how beautiful this glorious path is." Xiao Chang pondered and suddenly blurted out, "Old Qiu, did you notice that Qing won the game with a ha at the end? This must be the protection of some mysterious power. He sacrificed his own time." "Oh, what?" Qiu Zhigao was at a loss. "Forget it. You're not a real fan." Zhao Chang lowered his voice and sighed. "We've been trying to please him along the way, but we're not as impressed as Chang's 2 matches. Qiu Zhigao chuckled and said, "That's normal, just like how you like beautiful, cute, and playful girls. I like to study." Zhao Chang pushed up his black-rimmed glasses seriously. "I'm going to start preparing for the postgraduate entrance exam now." "So early? You're only a freshman." Qiu Zhigao was surprised. Zhao Chang smiled slightly and put away all of his seriousness and indecency. He exhaled and said, "I've thought it over very clearly. Everyone has their own characteristics and their own future. The postgraduate entrance exam is the most suitable for me. I can't follow others to practice martial arts just because others practice martial arts, right? It's better to prepare early than to cram for it. I'll slowly improve my inner qualities and abilities. There must be someone who likes me." Qiu Zhigao was stunned by the 3 questions in a row. He gasped and said, "Chang, why do I feel that you've developed a deeper thought?" Zhao Chang didn't say anything. He pushed up his black-rimmed glasses again, reflecting the sunlight through the window. When they were about to reach the tatami of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Lu Qing saw Li Mao taking the lead and applauding to welcome him back. Yan Zhike, on the other hand, was smiling. Her eyes were twinkling, looking playful and joyful. In the applause, he found Lin Kei standing up and walking towards him. He raised his right hand with a smile and made a high-five gesture. Lin Kei was stunned and didn't slow down. When he was about to pass by Lu Cheng's right side, he reached out his hand and gave Lu Qing a high five. "Come on," Lu Qing said with a smile. In his mind, he added, "brother-in-law." Lin Kei nodded and looked over Lu Cheng's shoulder to the arena, looking at his opponent. They passed by each other. Lu Qing returned to the tatami and sat on Lin Kei's seat. Only Gui Qing was between him and Yan Zhike. Awesome. Cheng, you're good. You'll definitely win the ranking event in April. Li Mao, Sun Jian and Chen Zhonghua gave him a thumbs up to express their admiration. Lu Qing was very happy and refreshed. He was about to respond when he felt a sudden pain in his arms and hands. He quickly unbuttoned his shirt and rolled up his sleeves. He found some bruises, some red and swollen. His bones were also very sore. Are you okay? I brought some ointment in the locker room. Yan Zhike looked at him and asked with concern. What? Hearing this, Li Mao, Lin Hua and the others immediately looked at Lu Qing and Yan Zhike, sizing them up. Yan Zhike also realized that she was too active and became the center of attention. She blushed shyly and looked very beautiful. Lu Qing's heart was beating fast. Applying ointment in the locker room. Two people together. He kept the last trace of reservation and said, Lin Kei's match is coming soon. As his teammate, it's not good to not watch and cheer for him. Sun Jian couldn't stand his hypocrisy and said, Lin Kei's opponent is of amateur first pin. What's there to watch? Go and apply the ointment. Don't leave any hidden injuries that will affect next week's match. Okay. Lu Qing was waiting for others to persuade him. He immediately stood up and looked at Yan Zhike. Yan Zhike had long regretted her suggestion. Feeling her face burning, she rolled her eyes at him. But after looking at his bruises and swollen face, she pursed her lips, turned her head, stood up, and walked to the locker room with a blush, avoiding all eyes. But she still walked proudly to the locker room. Lu Qing looked at her swaying back and followed her with a wandering mind. He heard the whispers of Li Mao and the others. Tisk tisk. Junior brothers nowadays are so great. Chen Zhonghua sighed with emotion. They were all college students who practiced martial arts. Why was he single for 4 years? Li Mao also sighed. I always thought that he had no hope to win her heart, just like how he thought his martial arts future was. In the locker room, there was no one around. Yan Zhike turned around and snorted with her hands behind her back. Tell me, why did you agree? You should ask me to take out the ointment and apply it outside yourself. Lu Qing suddenly felt like he was flirting with her. He pretended to be pitiful and said, but it's not easy for me to apply it myself. It hurts on both hands. Really? Yan Zhike hurriedly checked it. As a girl from a martial arts family, she had a good eye. She was relieved and said, there are no wounds on the bones. Sit down, I'll get the ointment. She trotted to the locker, took out the ointment, and sat next to Lu Qing. She raised her right hand, which had a lot of bruises, squeezed out the ointment, and kneaded it in a special way. Lu Qing's eyes followed her figure and followed her busy movements. At this moment, looking at the girl beside him, looking at her delicate skin, looking at her rosy cheeks, looking at her glossy lips, looking at her slightly distressed expression, and looking at her focused and gentle eyes, although the place where his right hand was being pinched was painful, he was willing to endure it. He even felt like he was intoxicated by it, even if it wasn't wine that made him drunk. At this moment, he longed for eternity. After kneading the bruises on both hands, Yan Zhike rolled her eyes and pretended to be normal. She said, where's your locker? I'll bring your shoes here. It's not good for you to walk barefoot. That. Lu Qing pointed, enjoying the girl's thoughtfulness and gentleness. You continue to knead them yourself. Yan Zhike wiped her hands with a tissue and turned to the locker. When she took out Lu Cheng's sneakers, she deliberately blocked his view with her back and quickly looked at the size. Then she lifted the corner of her mouth and went back with the shoes. What made you so happy? Lu Qing asked curiously. Yan Zhike said with a smile, if you didn't bring this pair of shoes, you would have to go back barefoot. Who would use martial arts shoes as a daily item? Lu Qing answered with a relaxed body and mind. His socks were gloriously broken just now, so he had to wear shoes barefoot for the time being. Aw 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 aw. Lu Qing is so cool. Yan Shaoling sent a voice message to Brahman while staring at the replay on the screen. Brahman laughed crisply. The scene of him turning around barefoot perfectly matched my expectations and fantasies of a mysterious master. According to the commentator, the professional 9th pin fighter who lost is very strong, close to the Dan stage. He is now praising our Lu Qing crazily, saying that he is not only a genius, but also good at actual combat and seizing opportunities. Yan Shaoling was satisfied and wanted to give the commentator a thumbs up. While the two girls were talking and laughing, Yan Shaoling opened the web page and logged into the forum, preparing to create a post about the preliminaries. When the page refreshed, she suddenly rubbed her eyes, wondering if she had seen the wrong number. Yesterday, there were only 4 followers. How come there are 368 followers now? How many times had it increased? Brahman, go to the forum. I think there's something wrong with my eyes. Yan Shaoling sent a message to Brahman immediately. After a while, Brahman replied weakly, my eyes seem to have something wrong with them too. In the same forum, Unparalleled Dragon King quietly posted a post. Lu Cheng's data collection. Name, Lu Cheng. Occupation, student. Age, 19. School, Songqing University. Martial arts rank, strong professional 9th pin. In Hongluo Martial Arts School, most of the disciples and trainees had lost all hope. Only a few core disciples who knew Pan Qingyun's real strength still had a glimmer of hope, hoping that he could turn the situation around as a secret weapon. As long as he defeated Lin Ke, the 3rd fighter of Songqing University would not even reach amateur 1st pin. Pan Qingyun adjusted his breath and stood opposite Lin Quebec. Because it was the first time for both of them to fight, there was no problem of physical recovery, so even if there was no time to talk, the referee was not in a hurry to announce the start of the fight. Instead, he called the staff to clean up the arena, so as not to interfere with the following fight. After a while, he confirmed with the 2 fighters, then waved his right hand and said loudly, "Start." Chapter 122. It was time for another book to be published. There was already a new page at 7 p.m., and there would be a VIP chapter at around 12:10 p.m. Normally speaking, at this time, I would talk about how hard I worked and how difficult it was to write this book. I would talk about my pitifulness and friendship in order to get more subscribers. But first, I would like to talk about something else, something that might cause the number of subscribers to drop. That was, don't have unnecessary expectations. I've already said that this book is a book of small scale, a book of medium to low-level martial arts. There won't be any battles between heaven and earth, no intense conflicts, and no grand schemes. Don't hold unnecessary expectations for these. The reason why I chose to publish the book for 2 months, 6,000 words a day, and 400,000 words a day, was to attract more readers. Also, I wanted to write out the book's style, rhythm, and main points so that the old readers would understand what kind of book it was, whether they would like it, and whether it was worth subscribing after it was published. I had always felt bad for everyone's money. I never wanted you to subscribe and support this book unconditionally just because of the books before it, even if you didn't like it. That would make me feel guilty. What I wanted was for you to only subscribe if you liked it. If you didn't like the style of this book, you could always wait for the next book. The next book would definitely be a different style and rhythm. There would always be something you like. There were many details in this book that I had wanted to write about for a long time. After the Fate Destroyer incident, didn't I say that I had the idea of writing about a fantasy city? Fantasy was arcane, and this was part of that city. Back then, I wanted to write about the technical flow of industrial layout, but now, I didn't have the passion, the idea, or the knowledge to do so. However, I often thought about the daily details in the book, smiled at them, and always wanted to write about them. Back then, I chose to write about arcane magic for two reasons. First, the change in the city was too big. Second, I was more passionate and motivated about arcane magic. Third, I didn't think that my writing skills back then were enough to write the daily details I wanted. I was afraid that I would only write a bunch of flowing accounts. After the tempering of the 3 books, it wasn't until the end of this life that I finally had the confidence to write a good daily life without deliberately creating conflicts. I could write something that was interesting in the mundane. At least for now, I barely managed to write it, and it was also the first time that I had the feeling of writing an essay that was filled with laughter and anger. This is a slow-paced book. I want to write about a young man named Lu Qing. What kind of people he will meet, what will happen, what kind of feelings he will experience, what kind of friends he will have, what kind of enemies he will face, and what kind of person he will grow up to. Martial arts is important, but other things are equally important. The dark main line of this book is Lu Chang's life. Every one of us will experience the life we are tasting or reminiscing from time to time. There was nothing wrong with that. I liked to read it too. Nowadays, society was fickle and everyone was busy. The time left for reading was limited. Who would have the time to slowly create, contrast, and outline the characters? But if you read too much of this kind of thing, you would get tired of it. When I first came in contact with online novels, I was surprised by the variety of styles. No matter how special my tastes were at any stage, I could find what I wanted to read. I still remembered when I was moved. I still remembered many characters with different characteristics. I still remembered reading books in front of the computer and almost crying because of the plot. Now, there were definitely similar books, but they were getting fewer and fewer. I'm not boasting about how rare it is. I just want to say that I really want to write a book like this. There are details, daily life, hot-bloodedness, passion, touching feelings, memories, innocence, purity, and all kinds of living people. The only problem is that the pace will be very slow, and there will be fewer conflicts. This is King tragedy, but the results can be predicted. Also, I wanted to proudly say that I tried a new way of describing characters. I didn't want to say what kind of person Yenjiko was. I didn't want to quickly create cute points and try to leave a deep impression in 1 or 2 chapters. Again, I violated the requirements of online novels. Instead, I started to outline little by little, using the chat and daily details to draw this girl. If you didn't like to read the dialogue, you might miss a little bit of her beauty. I hope that by the time I finished the outline, she would be liked by everyone. Well, about what you're worried about, I can only say that life is hard enough. I have too many regrets in the past. The book will definitely not be like this. I want to have a happy ending. This is a book that completely violates the trend and rhythm of online novels. I was actually mentally prepared for the result of subscriptions. But since I wanted to write it, then I'll write it. When I don't have to bend my back for 5 buckets of rice, when I'm still brooding over my shortcomings, when I'm still impulsive and passionate. I want to give myself a motto, and hope that I can always stick to it until I quit the online novel circle. That is, never be satisfied, always challenge. Actually, it can be said that I'm always looking for trouble. Alright, I've said a lot of nonsense. In the end, I still want to ask for subscriptions. I've never been shy about saying that I love money. I want to use my novels to earn money. I want to earn it standing. Well, I hope that my friends who like it will subscribe. I don't want the result to be too bad. As for outbursts, to be honest, the details and fighting are really hard to write. I've been racking my brain all day, looking for the feeling. Writing 9,000 is already close to my limit. I can only promise that on the first day, I'll update 4 chapters, 2 chapters in the morning, 3 chapters in the future, and at least 20 days in December. Finally, at the end, I'm asking for a monthly vote. I'm ambitious too. I still want to get a higher ranking so that more people will read this book. Also, welcome to my Weixin public account, Wuze 1985. I'll release a character image in the future. Chapter 123. Wang Hui, the principal of Hongluo Martial Arts School, looked at Jiang Guoxing, who came back with a depressed face, and then at Pan Qingyun, who was dumbstruck on the arena. He suddenly sighed deeply. It was good that they lost. It was a setback for them, so that they wouldn't become self-righteous if they always stayed in the Songqing martial arts school circle. As for redeeming their image and making a name for themselves, there were still 6 matches left. Moreover, losing one match didn't mean that they couldn't qualify for the next round. Later, he would ask a familiar reporter to take a picture and publish an article. The focus would be on the footprints and cracks on the bluestone ground, so as to show that Hongluo Martial Arts School was really capable. In Songqing TV station, professional commentator Fang Juexiao and guest a professional 7th Pin Ganlo looked at each other. They didn't expect this match to end so quickly. Fortunately, it wasn't like this hadn't happened before in low-level professional matches. The TV stations would ask for a few matches to be aired at different times so that they could prepare for the broadcast. After the director's instructions, Fang Juexiao returned to normal. He smiled at the camera and said, "The 3rd match ended so quickly. I thought Lu Cheng's victory over Fang Tong was already very fast. I didn't expect this match to be even faster. But it seems that it's quite normal for a professional 9th pin to defeat an amateur 1st pin, so there's no need to be too surprised. There's nothing to rewind. We'll cut to the scene later and have a reporter do the post-match interview. Today, we saw the debut of a genius fighter and got to know this student named Lu Qing. He went from having no foundation to defeating a professional 9th pin fighter in half a year. And his fighting style is tough, crazy, and fierce. We can directly feel the masculinity, courage, and confidence of a fighter. If we give him another half a year, or even a year, I can't imagine what will happen. It seems that it's not impossible for him to reach the Danqi state. Maybe in the near future, we'll really remember this young man's name. To be honest, I sympathize with Jiang Guoxing. In the martial arts circle of Songqing, he's quite famous and his strength has been recognized. He's only one step away from reaching the Dan state. But the reality is so cruel. The old will eventually make way for the young. This is especially obvious in the martial arts world. If you haven't reached the Dan state and are over 30 years old, you're really afraid of the young. Alas, this makes a middle-aged man like me sigh with a sense of crisis. 19 years old Lu Qing and 18 years old Lin Ke are both genius fighters. Songqing University Martial Arts Club is about to set off a youth storm in the preliminaries. Although they're only in the body refining state now, things will really be different at this time next year or the year after. I'm thinking, if Songqing University Martial Arts Club doesn't recruit students, I'm afraid there will be a bunch of people paying money tomorrow. Of course, there will definitely be more students willing to join the martial arts club. After nagging for so long, let's summarize. Let's look forward to the next match of Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Well, they'll go to Yimo and fight against Fearless Squad. This is a team spontaneously formed by several local fighters. They're also the favorite to advance from the group stage. Their main fighter is Wei Xingtian of professional 8th pin, Danqi State. Well, let's move on to the next match and wait for the post-match interview of Songqing University Martial Arts Club and Hongluo Martial Arts Club. Yan Xiaoling looked at the increasing number of fans. She pinched her face and finally confirmed that she wasn't dreaming. Whether a martial arts competition was broadcasted on TV or on the internet, the difference in the number of viewers was like heaven and earth. Especially for those who watched the competition online, there would always be people who would search for it. Even if it was only 1/10 or a few tens of people, they would follow it for various reasons, which was still quite terrifying. And this was only the TV stations that weren't in the top 3 video websites that weren't on the internet. When there were more people, there would naturally be different voices. Yan Xiaoling soon saw a post with the title, "Lu Qing is too ungentlemanly, isn't he? Fighting like a street gangster, vicious, ugly and disgusting." Humph. Yan Xiaoling suddenly felt that her lungs were about to explode. She opened the post and planned to scold, "No, be reasonable. I'm a civilized, gentle, polite and cute fan of Lu Qing." The poster was called, "I Just Can't Stand." He wrote eloquently, greeting people between their legs for no reason. "Lu Qing is really dark. Doesn't he have the demeanor of a master? He even breathed in people's faces. Doesn't he find his mouth smelly?" Yan Xiaoling scrolled down and was about to reply when she saw Unparalleled Dragon King posted a picture of Dragon King breathing fire in his opponent's face. Dragon King passed by shamefully, he replied. A new follower named Nia Chichi followed closely with a picture of warrior sage Qian Donglu slapping his opponent's crotch. She added, "Warrior sage silently gave it a like." Blood-sucking cat followed closely. Dong Baxian was scared and called him an idiot. This sentence was followed by a picture of Yanzhao Hall Master Dong Baxian when he was young. Yan Xiaoling read the replies one by one. Her anger gradually faded and she was constantly amused. She felt that the netizens of her forum were so talented. The girl was shy and angry, but her eyes were bright. She snorted and turned her head aside. She didn't object to his proposal. This kind of thing must be approved by his girlfriend. We have activities on the weekend. It's still early. It's troublesome to gather us in the evening. How about tomorrow at noon? After the special training, we can go to the cafeteria together. We don't eat anything good, just a small fry. Hey, remember, this is not the purpose of your money. Sun Jian joked, but his girlfriend, Lin Hua, pinched him. A small fry in the cafeteria was at least half the price compared to the same amount in the restaurant. Seeing that Li Mao and others agreed, and Yan Zhike didn't show any displeasure, Lu Qing immediately said, "Okay, tomorrow at noon." After that, they changed clothes and cleaned up. When Lu Qing came out of the bathroom, he saw Yan Zhike standing in front of Lin Quebec. She put her hands together and made a cute begging gesture. Lin K was silent for a while and nodded slightly. Looking for an opportunity, he approached Yan Zhike and asked in a low voice, "What did you ask your cousin for?" Yan Zhike smiled shyly and said, "I asked him not to gossip and not to tell my family about us." "Your family doesn't want you to date in college?" Lu Qing asked sharply. Yan Zhike nodded like a chick pecking at grains. "Yes, my parents all want me to focus on my studies in college and think about dating after graduation. But my mom didn't listen to my grandparents and stubbornly married my dad, didn't she?" "So?" Lu Qing asked. Yan Zhike slightly raised her chin and turned her head aside. She snorted and said, "Like mother, like daughter." Looking at her proud and shy expression, Lu Qing was moved and warm. He just wanted to hold her in his arms and give her a gentle kiss, pouring all his feelings into it. Considering that Yan Zhike hadn't completely adapted to the situation in front of so many people, he just reached out his hand and quietly grasped Yan Zhike's delicate hand. They looked at each other and exchanged 1,000 words. After a few minutes, Yan Zhike saw that everyone was done. She quickly retracted her hand and looked up. "I'm going shopping with Qing later. I'll treat you to a meal in the cafeteria tonight." We'll hold a celebration party for you. Okay. Lu Qing wanted to say that he would accompany her, but considering that the blabbermouth and straightforward Gui Qing would be in the middle, he gave up. He still had 2 pairs of martial arts shoes, which were enough for now. He didn't need to rush to buy them. When he had time, he would use this as an excuse to go out with Yan Zhike. Chapter 124. Clap, clap, clap. Seeing that the preliminaries had finished packing up, Geezer sure clapped several times to attract everyone's attention. This old man won't say anything about winning at the start. The preliminaries have just begun, and there are still many matches to go. We can't always be immersed in our victories. As humans, we have to look forward, right? He poured cold water on the cheerful atmosphere. Our next match is still an away game. We'll go to Yimo, which is not far away. It's only 40 to 50 minutes by train. We'll go there on the same day and come back on the same day. We'll save money for our stingy school. Sun Jian didn't get a chance to fight today and had nowhere to vent his energy. He asked excitedly, Coach Shi, which martial arts club is our opponent? It's not a martial arts club. It's a team formed by several outstanding local young fighters who broke the barrier between martial arts clubs. The leading fighter is called Wei Xingtian. He's a Danqi state and professional 8th pin. His goal is to get a place in the division and get a unique martial arts skill as a reward. There are 2 fighters of professional 9th pin and their substitutes are all above amateur 3rd pin. They're the most popular team. Geezer sure took out a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket and read a few words. Although his description was very strong, it didn't make people feel that he was very serious. 1 of professional 8th pin and 2 of professional 9th pin. Lu Qing suddenly felt that the future of this competition was not bright. However, the goal of his own martial arts club was the National University Martial Arts Competition. The preliminaries were only a way to practice. Overall, winning or losing was not important. Facing a master and suffering setbacks was definitely more rewarding than facing a weak and winning all the way. Even with such a lineup, there was still a big gap between them and Shanbei University Martial Arts Club. Whether they could beat Sanjiang College or not depended on whether they could restrain the supernatural ability of the opponent. Coach, can you tell us more? Young people were not afraid of failure and didn't have any goals for the preliminaries. Li Mao and others were not scared but asked with interest. Geezer sure coughed twice. I'll send their relevant information to your mailbox tomorrow. Take your time to read it. Why not send it today? Don't you want to leave some time to enjoy the taste of victory? Hearing this sentence, Lu Qing and the others found it funny, but the excitement and joy of defeating Hongluo Martial Arts School was restored. They looked at each other, opened their throats, and shouted a few times, shouting out the passion and youth of Zhangyang, victory. Songqing University will win. His voice traveled out of the changing room, making the spectators who were leaving feel bitter and aggrieved. They couldn't wait for the 2 sides to fight again. The school bus left the parking lot and slowly drove to the entrance of Hongluo Martial Arts School. Lu Qing reluctantly waved goodbye to Yan Zhike and Gui Qing. He didn't board the bus until they got on the online taxi. Gui Qing, that 3rd wheel. Sun Jian, who was sitting next to Lin Hua, sighed with emotion and complained for Lu Qing. Then he turned around and said with a smirk, Dear, it's still early. Why don't we go for a date? Seeing the sweetness between Qing and Yan Zhike reminds me of our youth. Let's go. Let's go on a date. Screw you. Lin Hua pinched Sun Jian fiercely, but was still pulled away by him. She shyly waited for the taxi. Chen Zhanghua, Li Mao, and the other single dogs didn't say anything. They all raised their middle fingers at Sun Jian's silhouette. Lu Qing was angry and amused at the same time. He suddenly regretted not going with Yan Zhike. Why are you afraid of the third wheel? He looked around and found that Kai Zongming hadn't got on the bus yet. When he was about to take out his phone to ask, he received a call from little Ming. Hey, the bus is leaving. Hurry up. Lu Qing hurriedly reminded him as soon as the call was answered. Kai Zongming laughed and said, I won't take the school bus back. Model worker has a girlfriend, right? He said he's going to treat our dormitory and his girlfriend's dormitory to dinner. You know, model worker's family is not rich, and he needs to save money for a date. So we decided to split the bill. Do you want to go? Let's find a place to sing karaoke and then eat hot pot. In this damn weather, it's so cold when the sun goes down. Hot pot is better. Hey, are you going or not? I don't have the space to say anything. How can I answer, talker? Lu Qing complained, I'd better not go. I'm going to meet Yan Jike at the cafeteria for dinner. Hello, Cheng. Goodbye, Cheng. Kai Zongming teased. Since you're dating now, shouldn't you treat us to a meal? Model worker is so self-conscious today. I'll treat you when I'm free. Lu Qing had decided to treat them to the cafeteria stir-fry. He had to save money and use it where it was needed most. In Hongluo Martial Arts School, Kai Zongming hung up the phone and spread his hands to Zhang Jingye, Wu Qian, and the others. Cheng is on a date. He can't join us. A date? He got Yenjika. Qiu Zhigao opened his mouth and was full of astonishment. Since he chatted with Guiqing from time to time, he was certain that Lu Qing was pursuing Yenjika. However, he always felt that girls at that level would not be interested in Lu Qing. Cheng's martial arts strength had increased rapidly, and he had become confident and elegant. It was only this semester, but he would have to spend at least a year or so pursuing her. But this guy got both martial arts and love at the same time. What did he do to move Yenjika, who had so many pursuers? Kai Zongming nodded with a smile. Yes, he has been pursuing her since last semester. Finally, his hard work pays off. Zhao Chang was stunned for a while and blurted out, damn, he's a winner in life. Wu Qian asked curiously, is it the beautiful girl in the martial arts club? Yes, I didn't think it was possible at that time. But how can you know it's impossible if you don't try? What if? What if a blind cat bumps into a dead mouse? What if the girl is blind? Even if Lu Qing was not in front of him, Kai Zongming could not restrain his impulse to tease him. But in the end, he said, "Aw, I'm envious of you. A foreign dog. You also have a girlfriend?" One of Wu Qian's roommates asked with a smile. Kai Zongming nodded slightly and answered frankly and humorously, "Of course, do I look like the kind of guy who doesn't have a girlfriend? Like this one, this one." Zhao Chang and Qiu Zhigao couldn't stand the teasing and hurriedly said, "Let's go. Don't waste time." Kai Zongming laughed and said, "Yeah, this is a hostile place. All the members of the martial arts club have left. If we stay here, we'll be beaten up." As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt a chill in his surroundings. He saw that the disciples and students of Hongluo Martial Arts School were looking at him and the others with a complicated expression. He was immediately frightened and quickly led the others out of the martial arts school. Facing the remaining sunlight of the afternoon, he said in a tone as if he had escaped from heaven, "Let's go and have fun." In the car, Guiqing could no longer suppress her doubts and asked, "Ko, why do you suddenly want to go shopping?" Yenjika loosened her ponytail and flipped her hair. She turned to look out of the window and said with a smile, "Cheng's shoes are broken, oh." Guiqing suddenly understood and then said with inexplicable grief and indignation, "Do you have to stimulate a single dog like me?" My eyes were blinded by the flash. Yenjika's shyness was dispelled by Guiqing's reaction. She pursed her lips and said with a smile, "Then you should get it quickly." Guiqing sighed, "Why don't you have a flirting tutorial?" I want to knock old Xiao out with a stick and drag him back." Seeing Guiqing looking at her, Yenjika laughed and said, "What's the use of looking at me? I've never chased a guy before. You need to find a master to guide you. Qing, your facial features are actually not bad. Dress up a little and don't wear clothes that show off your arms and legs. I'm sure you can find a boyfriend." Yes, I think so too." Guiqing was a straightforward and optimistic person. In the blink of an eye, she put this matter behind her. In the shopping mall, Yenjika took Guiqing to shop here and there. She compared martial arts shoes carefully as if she was carrying out an important task. The school bus was running. It was empty. Lu Qing occupied 2 seats by himself. He basked in the sun and took a nap. Occasionally, he woke up to chat with Yenjika. He felt warm and lazy. This was what a weekend should be like. After arriving at the new campus, he said goodbye to Li Mao, Lin Ke, and the others and went back to his own dormitory. Li Mao stood there and watched them leave. The scene of the competition just now was surging in his mind. It was fixed on the scene when Lu Qing and Jiang Guisheng fought and broke their martial arts shoes. He thought about himself and his nervousness every time. Suddenly, he felt afraid that he would be left behind by everyone and never be able to catch up with them again. Then he would never be able to make up for the mistakes he made last year. Well, if I practice a few more times, it will become an instinct. No matter how nervous I am, I can use it naturally. Li Mao took a deep breath and stepped forward. He didn't go back to his dormitory, but to the martial arts gym of Songqing University. Not long after, he carried a change of clothes and stepped through the entrance of the martial arts arena. It was not empty inside. During the weekend, many students came to exercise. They could use everything here, except for the locker room. Li Mao looked around and walked to the men's locker room first. When he was about to take out the key to open the door, a shadow suddenly appeared beside him. Senior brother Qin. He turned his head and was surprised to find that it was Chen Zhonghua. "Why are you here?" Chen Zhonghua smiled bitterly. "I couldn't sit still after watching the 2 junior brothers' competition. I will participate in the professional ranking event in April. I am 100% sure that I will meet Lu Qing. I just hope that we won't be in the same group. Alas, I thought that the training in the morning was not intense and I could practice in the afternoon. So I decided to come here." "You too?" "Yeah." Li Mao smiled tacitly. "This is our weekend." Back in his dormitory, Lu Qing turned on his computer and clicked on the browser. He wanted to see what changes had happened to his private forum after the live broadcast. 413 fans. He looked at the number in disbelief. There are 413 people supporting me now. This was the number of students from 7 or 8 classes in high school. He scrolled down and found that there were not as many posts and active IDs as he had expected. But this was normal. The silent ones were always the majority, and those who followed him were not necessarily his supporters. He read every post and was amused by the talented answers of the forum members. He was shocked by the fact that Unparalleled Dragon King had become his fan. He was moved by the adorable Eternal Nightfall and Brahman, who were trying to maintain order. He picked up his phone from time to time and chatted with Yenjika, intending to share this matter with her during dinner. Lu Qing also read the chat group of the Longhu Club forum and said a few words. He was caught by Wonton Seller and asked curiously, "Little tiger, why did you disappear again recently?" "I am in love," Lu Qing said with a funny face. He couldn't wait to tell the whole world about his happiness. "Yo, you have a girlfriend so soon. College students nowadays are really making us old guys envious." Road to the arena and others joked. Brahman even urged Lu Qing to post a photo, but was mercilessly and cruelly refused. Okay, don't force little tiger. He is very shy. Wonton seller snickered. At this time, rode to the arena, at the moderator, pig riding, we have known each other for a long time. When are we going to organize a meetup? Okay, how about after little Wonton finishes her college entrance examination? Pig riding knight answered quickly. Wow! After I finish my college entrance examination. Wonton seller said happily. The focus of the group of people's discussion soon shifted to the meetup. Lu Qing watched silently, occasionally interrupting leisurely. Sometimes, he would brag with Fatty Jiang and the others, and sometimes, he would call his mother and tell her that he had won the competition. For him, this feeling was very comfortable. He was not only the calm and fierce Lu Qing in the arena, a genius fighter who defeated strong opponents consecutively, but he was also a living person with his own social circle, his own daily life, his own happiness, anger, sorrow, and joy. Similarly, the people around him also had their own lives. In their own world, they were also the protagonists. When all these things were intertwined, it was called life. The leisure afternoon passed quickly. Lu Qing received a message from Yan Jike. I am back. Wait for me at the intersection of Red Maple Road outside the first cafeteria. P.S. I am asking for monthly votes. There are more in the day. Chapter 125. Red Maple Road Crossing. Why not wait in the cafeteria? It's so cold outside. Lu Qing was confused, but he didn't care. Wearing his daytime clothes, he quickly ran to the bathroom and put cold water on his face to make himself more energetic. He went out, went downstairs, and walked all the way to the destination. He didn't have to look for Yan Jike deliberately. He found her among the boys who came and went in front of him. She was sitting on a wooden bench outside the red maple forest, bathing in the afterglow of the setting sun. She was looking at her phone with her black hair hanging down, peaceful and beautiful, like a flawless picture. Lu Qing almost held his breath for fear of breaking the beautiful picture. But the anxiety in his heart urged him to quickly come to Yan Jike's side. He blurted out, "Are you cold? Hey, what kind of greeting is this? Isn't this what I was worried about just now?" Looking at him who was a little dumbfounded, Yan Jike stood up, looked around, lowered her head and laughed. My quilted jacket is quite warm. She was wearing a pink quilted jacket, full of the air of a young girl. Without waiting for Lu Qing to answer, she looked to the side and pointed to the paper bag on the ground as if nothing had happened. When I was shopping with Ah Qing, I happened to see a martial arts shoe store on sale. I thought your shoes were broken, so I bought a pair. You can try it on. While talking, a suspicious blush appeared on her face. Lu Qing was stunned at first, and then he felt a burst of joy in his heart, like a rolling mountain rock, crushing all other thoughts. She bought it specially for me, didn't she? Or why didn't she mention it earlier or later? Why did she say she was going shopping with Guiqing just after the competition? Or why did she happen to see a martial arts shoe sale? Glancing at his happy and enlightened expression, Yan Jike flew into a rage out of humiliation. I just happened to see it. Where do you think you are going? Before she finished her words, she suddenly felt a shadow in front of her, and then she was embraced by a thick chest. You! She shouted in a low voice, struggling and twisting. Lu Qing heard that she didn't use much strength, so he held her firmly and refused to let go. Yan Jike tried a few times, but failed. She clenched her fist and hit Lu Qing's shoulder playfully. How can you hug me like that? In public. Because I was too excited and happy. Lu Qing impulsively hugged the girl. Looking at her silky black hair, smelling the waves of fragrance, feeling the light and delicate body, he gradually came to a decision. The excitement just now had lost its intensity, but it had become long-lasting. Everything seemed to have quieted down. Lu Qing wanted to kiss her hair quietly, but Yenjika was still not comfortable enough. It's a good chance to experience it. Lu Qing said happily, let's walk there and digest first. He lifted all the bags and naturally picked up the girl's left hand with his right hand. Their fingers intertwined and they walked towards the long bridge. By the way, I have a fan forum now. Lu Qing remembered this and said with a little bit of pride. Yenjika opened her mouth slightly and said in a cute way, fan forum? Yours? Why couldn't these two words be connected? Yes, fans who supported me because they watched my challenge tournament. They established it themselves. Lu Qing clarified, afraid that Yenjika would misunderstand that he had tricked the little girl into becoming his fan. Really? Yenjika withdrew her hand with excitement and curiosity. She took out her phone and said, Where is it? After saying this, she pouted and mocked herself, it should be out if I search your name. I'm so stupid. She searched for Lu Qing and found the forum. She clicked in and read the post carefully. Lu Qing had an ulterior motive. He reached out and held her waist with the excuse that he was afraid that she would fall. Because it was winter and she was wearing a lot of clothes, he couldn't feel her slender body. These two moderators are so funny. I feel like they are little girls. Yenjika turned her head and looked at Lu Qing with bright eyes. Qing, you have so many fans who support you before I know it, I didn't expect it either. Lu Qing said sincerely. Yenjika chuckled. I'll be your fan too. Well, let's register an ID first. What should I call it? It should be simple, plain, generous and direct. Simple, plain, generous and direct. Lu Qing racked his brain and helped to think of a nickname. At this moment, Yenjika laughed and said, I've got it. What's your name? Lu Qing asked curiously. Yenjika took the phone to the other side and said with her back to Lu Qing, after I reply to the post, you can see it yourself. This made Lu Qing's heart itch even more. He calmed down and waited for a while. When he heard Yenjika say, done, he quickly took out his mobile phone and entered the forum. He saw a signpost with a new reply. The reply was called Lu Qing's girlfriend. He was stunned and his mouth twitched. He looked at Yenjika with a smile. So simple and plain. So generous and direct. Of course. Yenjika smiled and raised her head slightly. In another room in another city, Yan Shaoling also saw this ID and blurted out, my sister is so awesome. It was still early. There were many teachers and students in the martial arts stadium who came to work out. Yenjika changed into her martial arts suit and Lu Qing took off his coat and new shoes. They found a secluded corner and started to simulate actual combat. During this process, Lu Qing not only had to defend with all his might, but he also had to attack with all his might. Since there was no referee, he had to strictly control his strength and discretion. In the beginning, he was very cautious, afraid that he would hurt the girl. As time went by, he gradually grasped the threshold, and his control of his body seemed to have deepened. He felt that he could do whatever he wanted without breaking the rules. Yenjika's footwork was light and fast. Using her spine as a whip, she drove the rebound force from her feet and hit Lu Qing's head with a cut punch. Lu Qing lifted his shoulder, put his left arm up and rotated his waist. His muscles and joints shook together and he suddenly exerted force, imitating Jiang Guoxing's swing force. This was his 7th or 8th attempt. He didn't succeed before. Relying on his rich experience in actual combat, he didn't give Yenjika any chance. But after several failures, he had mastered some tricks. Bang! Yenjika's cut punch hit Lu Chang's arm, but as if she was pushed, she lost her balance and stumbled to the side. Lu Qing was afraid that she would fall, so he caught up with her in one stride. He reached out and grabbed her forearm. With a skillful move, he pulled her back to lean against him. As she leaned against him, their eyes met. Lu Qing was close to Yanjika's soft and light body. Looking into her watery eyes, he suddenly felt that the surroundings were quiet. Yanjika also seemed to feel the strangeness. Her eyelashes trembled a few times as if she was a little shy. Lu Qing could smell her warm and sweet scent. Unconsciously, his breathing became heavy. He did not know if other people would want to be intimate because of the burst of emotions when they made eye contact. He only knew that he was most likely a beast, and emotions were only a part of the reason. Most of it was because he felt that the girl was very beautiful and seemed to be very fragrant, sweet, and alluring. He wanted to kiss her. His breath became heavier and heavier. His eyes became hot and his heart beat faster and faster, full of desire and anxiety. His head unconsciously moved closer to the girl. Thump, thump, thump. Yanjika couldn't tell whose heartbeat it was. It seemed that she couldn't bear such a close approach and didn't dare to look into Lu Cheng's hot eyes. Her cheeks turned red, and her eyelashes trembled slightly. Then she slowly closed her eyes. The closer they got, the closer they got, the closer they were. Lu Cheng held his breath. When he was about to touch her, he suddenly heard a loud bang. Yanjika was awakened. She pushed him away and stepped back like a little white rabbit. She was shy and timid. Lu Cheng was disappointed and angry. He turned to the source of the sound. Not far away, two boys were practicing back throws. I have to teach them a lesson and tell them to practice carefully without professional guidance in case they get hurt. Lu Cheng gasped. Yanjika laughed and rolled her eyes at him. She said with a red face, "Let's go back. We have been practicing for almost an hour." Lu Cheng said with an exaggerated expression, "What a pity. I don't know when I will have another chance." Yanjika pursed her lips and looked at the sky. She said in a coquettish yet angry tone, "Let's wait patiently." After taking a shower and changing clothes, the two strolled back to the dormitory, enjoying the tranquility and beauty of the night. No matter how long the journey was, it would be over eventually. Lu Cheng and Yanjika stood at the door of their dormitory, reluctant to leave. Suddenly, Yanjika playfully puffed her cheeks and said, "Close your eyes." "Why?" Lu Cheng asked subconsciously. Yanjika glanced at him and said, "No reason. Just close your eyes." Lu Cheng suddenly thought of her shy initiative when they held hands for the second time. His heart suddenly beat faster. Is she going to take the initiative to kiss me? He closed his eyes and held his breath, looking forward to the beautiful scene. At this moment, he felt his mouth being flicked. He opened his eyes in surprise and saw Yanjika laughing happily while escaping back to the dormitory. "Ha, it wants to bully me." Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh. He watched Yanjika walk back to the dormitory with light steps, turning his head every few steps. If I had achieved the initial level of ice mirror and could sense it, I would have grabbed her hand, pulled her into my arms, and kissed her fiercely. Standing outside the dormitory, he touched his lips in disappointment and was full of motivation to practice martial arts. P.S. Third update. Thank you all for your tips. Thank you all league leaders. I ask for more votes next month. The gap is getting bigger and bigger. Please support me. Chapter 126. The pedestrian street was brightly lit, and all the shops were still open. The pedestrians were full of youthful spirit. Lu Cheng carried the paper bag with the shoebox and slowly walked around. He calmed down and looked around with interest from a bystander's point of view. Did that guy not eat? He's wolfing down the sausages. That couple is probably his senior brother and sister. They found a secluded corner and dared to kiss until the sky turned dark. He took out his phone from time to time to reply to Yenjika's messages. He listened to her complain that she had just learned that she had to hand in her homework in advance. When Lu Qing returned to the dormitory leisurely, Kai Songming, Zhou Zhigao, and the others hadn't returned yet. The small dormitory was quiet and peaceful. He took out the shoe box and looked at it gently for a while. His mouth unconsciously outlined an obvious curve. A gift from Yenjika. A gift from Yenjika. After a moment of smirk, he looked for the receipt. He was afraid that the girl had spent too much money. However, there was nothing extra in the paper bag or the shoe box. Obviously, Yenjika had taken it away carefully. But it's not a problem for me. Lu Qing smiled and turned on the computer. He searched for the brand and series and found the official website and the relevant page. So expensive. Even with the discount, it should be at least 700 or 800 yuan. He looked at the screen and said to himself. Martial arts shoes were purely consumable items for professional martial artists. No matter how good the material was, as long as it wasn't some kind of black technology, it would still break down after a few intense battles. Therefore, the price of normal martial arts shoes was on the lower side. 200 to 300 yuan was already considered pretty good. Most martial artists would at most equip themselves with a pair of shoes made of better and more comfortable material for their daily training. That way, they could last for a long time. Lu Qing looked at the pair of martial arts shoes with a little warmth and happiness. He couldn't bear to part with them. Suddenly, a thought came to his mind. I have to give her a gift too. The first gift as a boyfriend. Once the thought came to him, he couldn't stop it anymore. He looked at the screen and fell into deep thought, thinking about what gift to give Yenjika. She doesn't seem to lack anything, I can't ask Talker. The first gift has to have my own feelings. As a young man in the internet age, he subconsciously opened the search page and typed in the words, gift for girlfriend. He watched and learned carefully to stimulate his inspiration. At this moment, the sound of a key turning came from outside, and the door was opened. A burst of noisy footsteps approached from afar. Lu Qing withdrew his gaze and looked at the door. He saw Zhao Chang push the door open and enter. It did not include the various industries they were involved in because of their strength. As for the mighty ones of physical invulnerability, they could not be measured by money. Their annual salary from their own forces was probably pocket money. Even so, this part of the income was at least 10 million. Because of this, the prize money of the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament could effectively exclude the strong. Only the nearby professional ninth pin fighters or those who were in urgent need of money would participate. For children like Lu Qing who had suffered hardships, every time they thought of this income, their motivation to practice martial arts would be stronger. Hearing the affirmative answer, Zhao Chang could not help but sigh. I always feel that you and I are not in the same world. I can only say, Lu Qing was puzzled by his pause. Zhao Chang turned back and chuckled. Don't forget your friends when you are rich. Of course, who are we? If you master the skills, succeed in your business and become a big boss in the future, you can't forget us. Lu Qing followed and made a joke. After joking with each other for a while, they sent Zhang Jingye to bed and went to wash their faces and sober up. When Lu Qing walked to the living room, he saw Kai Songming standing by the glass door to the balcony, staring outside. Talker, why did you talk so little just now? It's not like you, he said with concern. Kai Songming smiled and said, I'm a little sad because of your words. What are you sad about? Lu Qing was puzzled and laughed. Kai Zhongming sighed and said, I said before that I like martial arts and wanted to try if I could take this path. I mean it. My dad always wants me to go back to our small town and help him take care of his company, but this is not what I want. Wow, you are really rich. Lu Qing said sarcastically, why don't you want it? So many people are looking forward to such a good thing. Kai Zhongming shook his head and laughed. Do you think it's good? If you always work with your parents, you will feel that you are not growing up. And you will definitely not be financially independent. How much you earn is in their eyes and under their control. Although you can ask them for money when you are not enough, don't you feel sullen? If there is a disagreement, you won't have the confidence to argue with them, unless you wait until my dad retires. But he is only in his 40s and is in good health. He can work for another 20 years. Also, when I think about what kind of life I will lead in the next few years or so, I feel scared. I'm scared that I will accept reality and return to our small, run-down city like a pool of stagnant water. So, I have to work hard now and try to find my own path in martial arts. If I can't, I will consider starting my own business in the future. I won't accept reality until I am exhausted. Chapter 127. At noon, Lu Qing turned on his computer and logged into his mailbox to download the information of Fearless Squad sent by his master. He had just invited all the members of the special martial arts training to a meal to celebrate the victory against Hongluo Martial Arts School yesterday, and also as an apology for abducting the treasure of the martial arts school. Because most of them were guys with amazing appetites, even if the cafeteria's single pot of stir-fry, they still ate more than 600 yuan, not including the wine he gave to Geezer Shi. After the meal, Sun Jian, Li Mao, and the others found him and said that the treat was just a joke and that the main purpose was to split the meal. They wanted to give him more money. After all, they were all students without a stable source of income and lived on the money given by their families. It was really not good to eat half a month's worth of food expenses in one meal. Lu Qing had the prize money of the Warrior Sage Challenge Tournament and New Year's money, and also the living expenses that his mother specially increased to 2,000 yuan. He appreciated their kindness and said that since he had promised, he should really do it. Li Mao and Sun Jian also searched for this junior brother's information and knew that he earned a lot from the challenge tournament during the winter vacation. Seeing that he insisted, they didn't force him. After such a meal, Lu Qing was completely familiar with the senior brothers and sisters of the senior grade. Under their teasing, Yan Zhike gradually became thick-skinned and no longer shy and timid, and could proudly respond to their teasing. This allowed Lu Qing to be close to her from time to time and didn't have to worry about her being afraid of other people's eyes. When the parties involved feel nothing about something, the onlookers will lose the fun of teasing. Recalling Yan Zhike's arrogance just now, Lu Qing wore a fascinated smile. After the download of the information, he first opened Wei Xingtian's introduction. Wei Xingtian, 25 years old, broke through to Danqi State a year ago and is classified as professional 8th pin. Majored in bright stone skill, good at giant spirit pounding skill. Bright stone skill, a hard body skill. Starting from meditation, continuous spiritual visualization, external attacks and medicinal soup and ointment are practiced. Not as good as Golden Bell Shield, Immortal Flesh, Cold Jade Tactics and other top physical skills and supernatural ability of metallized part of the body, but not to be underestimated. It is much better than Iron Shirt without visualization. The body is as hard as stone and can effectively reduce the damage of sharp weapons and resist the hit of sticks and so on. At this point, Lu Qing nodded thoughtfully. In this case, the bright stone skill was equivalent to the divine skill of the police academy, the golden jade body. Shaking his head in grief and indignation, Lu Qing looked at the information of the two professional 9th pin fighters, Dong Yi and Qiu Yang. The former had the family heirloom Rolling Thunder Palm, while the latter had the nickname Mad Dog. His own master had specially commented that his fighting style was somewhat similar to the unique skills of the Death Sect. After roughly browsing through, Lu Qing sent a scared to tears emoji to Yenjika. Have you seen the information? Dan's stage is so scary. The newbie is trembling in fear. Yenjika replied with a laughing emoji. Come, cry for me. Is there a reward for crying? Lu Qing asked shamelessly. Yes, there is. The reward is a slap, Yenjika joked and put on an emoji with her hands crossed under her chin. Let me tell you a piece of good news and a piece of bad news. What's the good news? Lu Qing asked curiously. Yenjika snickered and said, It is said that Chiu Yang of Fearless Squad was injured in the last preliminaries. He was injured. Why is it not in the information provided by Coach Shi? Lu Qing asked in surprise. Yenjika used an emoji of spreading out her hands and shaking her head. Maybe Coach Shi doesn't like them and is too lazy to take the initiative to collect information. I just found their last match and found this out. Quickly say that Coach Yen is awesome. Coach Yen is awesome. Lu Qing immediately replied and then asked thoughtfully, What's the bad news? Only one professional ninth pin left. His injury may not be serious. It's hard to say if he won't fight against us. Yenjika replied with a laughing and crying emoji. Anyway, you don't need to care about this. If you can win 1 or 2 rounds of professional ninth pin battle, it won't be considered a failure. After all, the other side has a Dan stage master. Lu Qing replied with an I'm scared emoji, but Coach Shi set a small goal for me. What small goal? Yenjika asked with a bright and spirited emoji. He said that if your cousin and I face Wei Xingtian in our best condition, we will strive to take him down by attrition battle. Lu Qing replied with a crying and clenching fist emoji. That's really a small goal. Yenjika stared blankly and then said with a smirk, although the hope is not big, it's not completely impossible. Qing, I have faith in you, I'll work hard. Lu Qing replied with a determined emoji. Anyway, no one will find it strange if I lose, but he will lose face if he loses. Who's afraid of who? In the next few days, he practiced very hard. But whether it was Ice Mirror or Thunder War Zen, they were not martial arts that could be mastered overnight. They were not things that could be mastered by exploding the seed. It could only be said that the former still needed time, while the latter was getting better and better. Then, under the gaze of pairs of blank eyes, he took out a stack of test papers from his briefcase and said loudly, Today is a small test in class, an open book test. The score will account for 20% of the final score. The questions are very simple. As long as you do it, you can get 20 points. In other words, those who did not do this set of questions would lose 20 points at the end of the term. Damn, you can do this. Lu Qing and Xiao Chang looked at each other, feeling a little lucky. They then observed a minute of silence for Talker and the others. After sending the message and fulfilling their responsibilities, they received the test papers. As expected, the questions were very simple. Professor Yu has been planning this for a long time. Lu Qing exclaimed. Xiao Chang nodded. And he didn't show any signs of it before. No wonder we heard that he was one of the famous detectives. We didn't believe it. As he spoke, he said with nostalgia, Professor Zhang, who taught calculus in the previous semester, was better. He never took attendance, and he was very upright. What do you mean? Lu Qing asked curiously. Didn't Tang Wen fail calculus? Thinking that the makeup exam was coming up, he went to the old campus last weekend and called Professor Zhang to give him some gifts so that he would miss the questions. Xiao Chang gossiped. Professor Zhang didn't accept it. Lu Qing suddenly realized. Zhao Chang laughed. Not only did he not accept it, he even made Tang Wen wait for him in the old teaching building and lectured him on the main points of calculus for the whole afternoon. He was so dizzy that he just wanted to cry. Professor Zhang is pretty good. Lu Qing sighed. It's not easy to find such a teacher. As they spoke, he shared the test as roll call incident with Yan Zhike. Yan Zhike replied quickly, our professor is even more perverted. There are 2 sections in one class and he takes attendance 5 times. But he's not as ruthless as your professor who takes 20 points in one go. After chatting for a while, he put down his phone and started to do the questions. Because he didn't listen to the lecture, his speed of finding the answers was very slow. Beside him, Zhao Chang was writing at lightning speed. Lu Qing was surprised and couldn't help but ask, Chang, have you seriously read the book? The book for this class? Zhao Chang nodded seriously. I'm a real fan. On Saturday afternoon, the group from Songqing University Martial Arts Club arrived at Yimo's train station. While they were on the way, Geyser told them to take an afternoon nap to recover their energy so that they wouldn't be absent-minded in the afternoon. Lu Qing helped Yan Zhike carry her luggage and walked out of the train station side by side. They saw the slightly gray sky and smelled the faint smell of coal smoke in the air. Yimo was an old industrial city, famous for its combination of coal and steel. The pollution index was on the high side. There were rich mineral resources here and the people were tough. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.